We tried, you guys. NXT tried. Hi, all you VC WrestlePod nerds out there. Welcome to a very enthusiastic episode of Dynamic Dominance Trio Reviews, also known as DDT here at BC WrestlePod. This is your weekly WWE NXT review squad, and the whole gang is back together for this one, for better or for worse.
Probably for worse.
Probably. But regardless, I would not want to do NXT without my lovely co-hosts. So outside of myself, my name is Mikey, also known as El Jefe around BC WrestlePod. I am the face that kind of runs the place. I'm the man with half a plan, and I am the host that has somewhat the most. Who knows? Or I do the most work. It all kind of blurs together. Anyway, I run the shindigs around here, but I am joined this evening by my lovely co-host. First and foremost, find him over at ROH and TNA Reviews, as well as here, Mr. A to Z himself, Andrew. I know you busy, so I appreciate you being here. Oh my gosh. What's up? And then, of course, back from the world of the theater, kind of, Papa Osa himself, Will, who you can also find here on NXT and TNA. Don't go anywhere shortly because there's going to be a TNA video soon because I have a bone to pick with TNA, but we're going to talk about it during the predictions video for it. But we're here to review week 2 of Spring Breaking, the second week of the 2-week special for the spring. Things are breaking down in NXT in more ways than one. Okay, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off here. Now that the draft has been finalized and people have been called up, but get this, kids, because I learned this earlier today, that the drafts aren't finalized until Monday, and there's to be expected to be some trades across these things. I'm like, I just sat here for 2 whole nights of SmackDown and Raw for you to tell me that all that nonsense that went on the last 72 hours means nothing.
Yeah, it's their chance to fix something that, if fans aren't reacting well, it's their chance to be like, oh, maybe, hey, we'll change it.
Maybe. Anyways, that's Raw and SmackDown's problem. So the Friday Night Faction and Raw Squad teams will have to deal with that nonsense. But before we get into this week's episode of NXT, I do want to mention that the draft, even though it's nonsensical and it doesn't really mean much because only like 7 people switched throughout the whole entire thing, I do want to acknowledge that we do have some folks from NXT that got moved over to main roster. So congratulations are in order to Kiana James, Lyra Valkyria, the Mad Dragon himself, Ilya Dragunov, Blair Davenport, Carmelo Hayes. Yes, I'm throwing Braun Breaker in there, even though we'll talk about that later. How you gonna get signed to SmackDown and then get moved to Raw? Anyways. And then, of course, love him or hate him, congratulations are in order to Dijak for moving to Monday Night Raw, and Baron Corbin going to SmackDown. So congratulations to those NXT folks. I'm super excited to see what our NXT kids do on the main roster, and I'm excited to see what happens with Dijak and Baron Corbin now that they're back on the main roster. So should be good. All right, let's just get into this. So Spring Breaking, week 2. First, we open up with this in-ring segment with Trick Williams, and then Lash Legend comes out to interrupt. I'm going to speed past this real quick because this was the horniest segment I have ever seen in my entire life. Yes, we know that Trick and Lash are dating in real life, but this is weird. This was a weird segment.
I was uncomfortable in this segment, and I'm not normally uncomfortable in things like this. I was like, I need an adult. It was weird.
I mean,
it was just weird.
Yeah.
I didn't like the envelope because as soon as I saw that envelope, I'm like, the alarm went off in my head. I'm like, perpetuating stereotypes. Maury, you are not the father.
Yeah. It was also a bubble wrap envelope, too. It wasn't even like a standard envelope. It was like, where did y'all pull that off? Is somebody's desk on your way out? I mean, come on. Props are important, people. Props are important.
What made this even weirder is that we got this in-ring segment that just sets up that, Trick is going to be on the Supernova sessions next week, which we don't find out until almost the very end of this show. But then we get into like a kind of hype package between Gigi Dolan and Ariana Grace telling us what's going down tonight. I was like, why didn't you play this first before the Trick and Lash's segment.
Yeah.
It was also like, yeah, I did not like that segment. I mean, partially because it was basically just a commercial for what was coming up, but it was just so cheesy. Like, I don't know. It just did not click for me, and maybe it was the placement, but the fake burp, the, like, ham-fisted way of, like, getting, like, references for the matches coming up in there.
Yeah, it was.
I was like, you picked the generic soundboard burp. You couldn't find something different?
They telling me Gigi couldn't do that? Yeah. Just do a real one.
I know. Look, I didn't like that. I'm like, I know the story of what we're telling with Gigi and Ariana, but yeah, you don't need to make Gigi look like some sort of animal here with the it was gross. I was just like, it's like a fart joke. Fart jokes and burps are like low comedy. And I hate it. I hate it.
Yep.
But on the bright side, one thing I kind of didn't hate was this North American Championship match. Obafemi defending his title against, now fully decked out in his Viking Raider outfit, Ivar, which is always fun to watch. This match kind of slapped.
It was good. I liked it. I didn't know Ivar. Like, I don't know Ivar, but I really enjoyed it. It was neat to see. Like, Obafemi being picked up and thrown around for once. It's like, I was like, oh damn. There's some big beefy boys after each other there, and I was here for that. It was good.
Yeah, this was probably my match of the night. It was up there with some of the other matches, but I think this one pulled it out. Some of those moves that Oba hit on Ivar is insane, like that finishing sequence with the electric chair drop and the pop-up power. Just some of that stuff I think was a really good way to show how strong Oba is. This started my continued frustration with the programming again with NXT. We got half the entrances. We got a bigger entrance for Trick entering for his pre-show promo than we got for the champion entering. And then the first, half of the, a good portion of the first half of the match was picture-in-picture. Like, what? I wish we could have seen this match uninterrupted because it was two powerhouses going at each other, and they did a really good job. I mean, Ivar's speed and agility for his size and Oba's strength were insane. So, I thought the match was awesome, but again, the programming throughout the night just really made me unhappy, and it seems to be a broken record with NXT.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hate picture-in-picture. Though, on a side note, it was kind of fun listening because JVL, our other co-host, is doing Dynamite review, this week. He's just like, I forgot how much I hate picture-in-picture because he had to watch it live because he's on the go when for this review. I'm like, feel my pain. Listen, I'm nice, but I'm petty too. I'm like, feel my pain.
Mm-hmm.
This is the problem with watching it on TV. And then on YouTube TV too. YouTube TV, you fail at this as well. Why do we have picture-in-picture on YouTube TV as well? I'm like, anyways.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed, though, it did get kind of dangerous when Ivar went for the Doom Salt. I love his Doom Salt spot, but I'm like, did his knee come down on Oba's face on that? I'm like, oh, please don't break a nose. Don't break anything in the face. Like, but thankfully it doesn't seem that anything was too damaged. I'm afraid because every time Ivar hits that Doom Salt spot, it gets closer and closer to him kneeing somebody in the forehead or in the nose and breaking something. We're going to talk about somebody bleeding from the nose because I still can't figure out when in that match it happened. But ultimately, Andrew, like you said, Obafemi with the electric chair drop.
That finisher, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, oh man, I was just like, dear God. I was kind of speechless. Just like, just for the whole match, it was just. It's so funny because Obafemi is so like, I'm coming in here and I'm going to destroy you. And and Ivar just constantly was like, no, I think I'll destroy you for a little while. And literally just whooped Obafemi's ass. And I was just like, wow. And it kind of made me happy. I'm not going to lie. Don't get me wrong. I love Obafemi, but I think I'm kind of done with him right now in the champion position. So I'm kind of like, can someone please? So it was nice to watch somebody else like kick his ass, and like very closely. It's like, dude, Ivar could have whooped your ass and taken that title from you. I was like, and I kind of like that. And I also kind of like the fact that Ivar's like, I'm not done with Obafemi. It's like, I love this guy now.
Yeah.
I was like, I love you. This is a good match.
I mean, like I said, I think if you pick the right people to come on over to NXT to work some stuff, I think it works. Ivar being one of them, because this was a fun match between him and Obafemi. But ultimately, Obafemi wins and is still your NXT North American champion. And speaking to what Will said about, somebody else coming along to kick Obafemi's butt, we pretty much figure out what the Battleground match is going to be, which I've been hoping and praying to the wrestling gods that it was.
Me too.
But as Obafemi is celebrating the ring, everybody in the NXT audience and me at home lost their collective mind because Wesley's music hits. And coming from the crowd is a returning Wesley after being gone for months, which was nuts. He's been gone since what, like September at this point? Yeah, he's been gone since September, like right before No Mercy. So Wesley comes back, he jumps the barricade, he gets into the ring, and without saying much, he eyes the title, eyes Obafemi, and I'm like, yep, this is the Battleground match right here, kids. Like, there's only one person who could take this title off of Obafemi at this point. And if you don't put it back on Wesley, I'm going to look at you at NXT sideways, and we may have to take a break, you guys.
Yeah.
Me and NXT might have to take a break in this relationship.
I feel like with Oba and Trick eyeing each other on the way to the match, and then this with Wesley, I think we're going to get our classic, next level for everyone. So I think Wesley's going to come in, dethrone Oba, and then Oba's going to go after the NXT title from Trick.
Which I wouldn't mind, honestly.
No, I think he should.
I agree. Obafemi and Trick Williams are the same height.
Oh my gosh. It was so fantastic.
Which is crazy. You would not assume that they are the same height because they are not the same size.
No, they are not. But
wow,
I was super excited that Wesley is back. I'm happy to see him happy and healthy. And this will be not the last we talk about Wes, because we will see him later in the night. But I may have shed a tear. I'm not going to lie, because I have missed Wesley's presence, because he brings something different to NXT. And all I got to say is that once we get him back into the swing of things, and depending on how storylines play out, at some point by the end of 2024, Shawn Michaels, because I know you watch our videos, maybe, who knows, I need Wesley to take on Javon Evans at some point in the year. Like, if you give me that match just because, I will lose my mind and I will give you all my money. I'm happy to see Wes back. Okay, so let's talk about this, because I feel kind of split on the ending of this after the match, but we do get our grudge match. Thea versus JC, and I gotta say, this was outside of Oba and Ivar, this is probably my other favorite match of the evening, only because I was like, wow, these women are actually kind of great. Though I have to say, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit, I still can't figure out, when did JC get busted all open on the nose? I'm just like, she didn't start, I'm looking at the match, I'm looking for the Kimura lock gets hit, but she's still not bleeding. And then she starts gushing blood. She's exiting the ring. I'm like, where?
I mean, it was pouring. I mean, it was like, I'm like, somebody get her something before she bleeds out. I'm like, because it wasn't just it was like pouring off of her. And I was like, what the hell? I don't even know when that happened. I tried to go back and look again. I couldn't figure out when it happened.
Because I thought I figured it. I was like, oh, maybe there was a knee strike or, the code breaker or something. But no blood. And then it started gushing after.
Yeah.
I'm like, what happened? But leading into this match, I knew something was going to be off, because Fallon Henley was being all weird. I'm like, oh, I know. Oh, no. I see where this is. Oh, no. And sure enough, so the match itself, before we get to the ending, I thought was fun. Thea and JC have improved so much since joining NXT. Kind of wish we built it to Battleground, but it seems that we still might get Thea at Battleground, just not against the opponent I thought it was going to be. which also throws a wrench into another individual's plans of everything that happened. When we'll talk about Kalani later in the parking lot, because I'm wondering what's gonna happen with her in this whole thing.
Yeah. I think this whole thing, like you said, should have been moved to Battleground. Like the whole Fallon turn and this match itself should have been at Battleground. You could have built it up and give us more reason to why Fallon did what she did, because basically she did it after last week someone said something to her in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow. And then you moved your friend out of the way and took a shot for her, and that was like the thing that sent you over. So you put yourself in that position. Like,
yeah,
I get maybe not wanting to do that again, but why would that make you turn on your friend?
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't get that either.
I like some of the wrestling, like that neckbreaker counter that JC hit on Thea when she did the springboard off the ropes was awesome. Yeah, it was. The match was good. Again, I had the problem with the fact that we spent almost 4 minutes of this match in picture-in-picture, and so that took away some of it. Also, I really like Crazy Thea, and I would love to see a Crazy Thea heel or even a tweener or something, because I cannot stand babyface Thea. She is whiny AF. Like, at the end of the match, later in the promo that we get to see, it's just, it's not, cute. It's not, it's not something that makes me feel bad for her. It makes me not like her. And she's awesome when she goes crazy.
Right. But, okay, since you brought it up, let's just talk about what happens during that segment, because... So Thea picks up the win. Fallon attacks her. Then later in the show, we see Chase U escorting Thea into the medical office. And then we get this whole thing where Thea's like, why does everyone do this to me? I'm like, no, Thea, we cannot be complaining, girl.
That's why. That is why. Right there. That line right there, when she said that, I was like, that is why they keep doing that. Because you're annoying AF. Like, they're all your friends, and they're around you, and they're like, no, I don't want to be around her anymore. Also, if you're jumping to that promo, what the hell was that with Rich Holland and Chase?
I don't know what the hell that was. I don't
know. What is happening with the plot? Okay, we're going to go out of order with this, because this is the whole running theme. We lost the plot with a lot of things. So, I mean, let's rewind a little bit. So before we go back in order, because I don't really want to spend too much time on Shawn Spears and Rich Holland, because it was a thing that happened.
Worst night of the
didn't need to.
Or match of the night. Yeah.
Yep. Worst.
He did not need this. I thought we had something with, Rich Holland retiring in ring. I was like, okay, cool. Like, we're going to build him up somewhere. Like, we're going to get his confidence back. Like, we're going to have a whole spiritual quest. Like when Wesley and Zachary went over in TNA, when they were MSK and NXT, went on a spiritual journey to prepare for their tag team championship match. And they so happened to run into Matthew Riddle. Which was stupid, but it made sense. I was like, okay, we're going to follow Ridge on a journey. And then, like, the iconic line from the DC CW shows, make the plan, execute the plan, expect the plan to go off the rails, and then throw away the plan. That's exactly what happened. Except we just skipped from make the plan and then throw it out the window, because this whole entire storyline with Ridge has lost the plot. Shawn Spears is getting thrown into this. I don't like seeing Shawn lose so much. What are we doing? And Joe Gacy is absent from all of this too. Like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, everything about this, the match itself, what we got to see of it, because 30 seconds into this match, we went to picture-in-picture for 3.5 minutes of a 7-minute match. So half the match was spent in picture-in-picture. What we got of it was super weak and not interesting, and the match was weak. They need to make this feud either more interesting, or they need to make the feud go away. It's watered down paint. It's just not good.
Yep, makes sense.
I had to throw away a piece of notebook paper because I wrote out a whole entire thing as a response to this is how I would book Rich Holland's storyline post his in-ring retirement, and it involved a certain Eddie Thorpe being the one to kind of coax him back onto the path, because Eddie could be that quote-unquote spiritual guide for him. And honestly, Ridge and Eddie Thorpe as a team would have been baller. But, now I had to throw away that paper because who knows what we're doing now. And there was a glimmer of hope. I was like, okay, maybe we're going to get crazy Ridge Holland. I'm here for it. Then the promo with Chase U and Ridge happened. I was like, nope, throw that out the window too. It seems that Ridge is like, I'm going to do the right thing and build myself back up. I'm like, what was the last month of what we saw? You were just taking out fools left and right because they made you mad. Like, what is this?
No one wants
Incredible
a baby
Hulk,
face
you are
Ridge.
not.
I don't even. I mean, where did the hell did this come from? I mean, it's like all of a sudden Chase U and Holland are like best friends.
There has been no.
There's been no indication of that. I mean, when Ridge was first there and everyone kept beating his ass and no one would come out and help him, and now all of a sudden he's like best friends with Chase U. Like what? I mean, what? I
wouldn't believe this had Andre Chase been the one to be like, hey man, like a month ago when we got the in-ring retirement, if Andre was like, hey man, I know what it feels like to be in a dark place. I've been there too. Not only would you have built this like on-screen evidence of there being a friendship between Andre Chase and Ridge, but you could have had a really fun storyline where whether he is in Chase U or not, Ridge can be around Chase U and be like, yo, these people are kind of great. Like, I like them. I'll defend them. Literally, you could have had a second dumb golden retriever boy like we do with Duke Hudson and Ridge Holland. And I would have been here for that. But no, Shawn Michaels, you guys didn't do that. And we lost the plot.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels, don't get me wrong. We love NXT, but we got to be honest here. This has not been our favorite storyline.
We've jumped the shark big time.
Too many times. But all to say that made no sense. Whiny Thea is not anybody's cup of tea. I want Thea to be like, listen, she beat me up, but I'm going to rip her arm off with the Kimura lock. I'm like, that's the Thea I want to see. The one that went against, the one that was feuding with Tiffany Stratton during summer last year, where she was still fairly new and she was getting beat up by Tiffany sometimes, but she was going to break her arm. And she almost did a couple of times. It was kind of nice to see. I want that Thea back.
Although I will say I do love the fact that she beat JC though. I do love that. I'm so glad they did that. But yeah, I agree with you. I want more crazy Thea. I agree. The whiny baby version of her is like really getting old. I mean, it's like she needs to be like, bitch, I'm here and ain't nothing you're gonna do about it. You want to come at me if you want to come at me.
Well, and then on the other end too, like I need to know why Fallon turned heel and attacked Thea too. I need that explanation this upcoming week because if not, I'm gonna be kind of upset. And I can only speculate. I wonder if we had to change things because Kiana technically played a big part in this whole entire feud with JC, Thea, Hallen, and Kalani, but now that she's on main roster now, like I wonder if they had a scrap plan. So then who knows what this means for Izzy?
But it's not like I would believe that if this was a legit draft. It's all scripted. It's all part of they're all making those decisions together behind the scenes. They all knew that was going to happen and who they were going to call up to the main roster. They should have finished this story beforehand, which was my biggest issue with all of Spring Breaking, was we were getting things wrapped up or extended or decided to fit the draft or get it done before we had to announce that these people were being drafted. And it's like, but you knew that was happening. You should have written the story to fit within the time span that you had.
Agreed.
Yeah, it was a thing. So, again, going back to where we were, Thea beats JC, Fallon attacks. Cool. Then my spirits were uplifted because we got a quick segment with Tyreek and Tyson, because they were having their debut tag team match. I was just like, I am here for nerds because we learned that Tyreek is actually very intelligent.
I saw an episode of Level Up where these two teamed up with Javon Evans against OTM. That trio was so good. So I want them, now that they're in NXT, I want the three of them to stick together. And even if they're just friends or whatever, that'd be awesome. But if they actually did like an actual face faction, kind of like we have with Anofi and Blade and Brindley, another group like that. But the three of them, legit, those three, they could be some next big things in NXT.
I'm excited, look, because I've seen some of their stuff on Next Level too, and I'm just excited that we're getting more tag teams in NXT, especially in the men's division, because we're kind of lacking a little bit. But we're going to talk about Tyreek and Tyson in full a little bit later, because after we get the backstage training montage with Carmen, Petrovich, and Natalia getting ready for this underground match, which I was like, 30 seconds should have been enough. I clocked this at almost a whole minute. I was like, we don't need this long of a thing. Lola and Shayna's was not that long, and that was more effective because of how short it was.
And because of...
I mean, that part too. I was like, look, we all know Lola is actually trained in this, and so is Shayna, so I believe that. Natty is a submissionist, but not a MMA fighter submissionist.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about the boat later.
Yeah.
Woo! So now we can talk about something that I actually like. And at first I thought about it, I was like, did I appreciate what I'm going to call them TNT? Because Tyreek and Tyson TNT for now.
I thought about that, but unfortunately Mr. Hughes' sons have taken that tag team name.
Fine.
Yeah. I thought I was trying to think of them, some names for them too, but no,
I guess. So trademark pending is what we're going to call them for now. But we get a tag team match, Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe versus the OC, which is Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, which I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I guess y'all are going to be working NXT too. Because listen, the OC has done a lot in their careers, but we're going to talk about the one member of the OC that made me more excited when I saw her later in the evening.
Yeah.
But I think for first opponents, for Tyson and Tyreek, I think the OC are very reliable because, again, they've been a tag team for almost, 15 plus years at this point. The match itself was okay, but I gave it a little bit of grace because this was more of a debut match for our boys of Tyreek and Tyson. And I enjoyed every single minute both of them were in the ring because I'm like, yo, they actually are a tag team. It's not like, hey, let's throw you two together and try to make you a tag. No, like they are going to be a force to be reckoned with in this tag team division. They unfortunately lost, but I thought this was a good showing for them. And honestly, I feel that was the important bit because I was watching them the entire time.
I will say they both looked awesome, Tyrese and Tyson, or Tyreek and Tyson. That kip up for a guy that size, like, dude, like that was insane. And the height he gets on those splashes in the corner, I thought it was garbage that they lost.
Yeah, me too.
The OC did not need to win. I feel like it just made me more irritated that they're there. Like, it feels like they're there at the expense of TNA or NXT talent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if the OC was going to win this tag team match, don't have them go against your new debuting tag team. If your new debuting tag team is going to come in and you don't want to have them beat the OC, then don't put them against the OC. Give them somebody that you're okay with them beating. Especially these two guys. They're so athletic, so physically imposing. Like, the other person that, if they didn't work with Javon Evans, put them with Obafemi. Like, I mean, like, that trio right there would be frightening. They're so good. They're so entertaining. They're so charismatic. Yeah, so it just really bummed me out. Like, I would have given this match a, but I gave it a 6 because of the ending just spoiled. And the fact that they looked like they were going to pick up the win, and then it was just like, oh, here's the end. OC's supposed to win, so let's just do it now. But I will say that made me happy about this match. It was the only one that didn't have a commercial or a picture-in-picture interrupting it.
Oh my gosh, right?
Night. So, yeah, this one kind of bummed me out.
Yeah. I don't think the OC should have won either. Didn't make any damn sense. I was like, wait a minute, what? Why are you introducing these guys and then just destroying them, basically? I mean, first of all, I was like, there's no way. Those guys were massive. I mean, compared to OC. I mean, half of OC is pretty big, but I mean, come on. It's like they were wrestling, and I was like, okay, all right, yeah, okay. They're going to win. They got this. Duh. Makes total sense. And then they didn't. I was like, something didn't sit right with me. I was like, no.
If I'm going to be honest, if we were going to show off TNT, maybe not have them go up against the OC. And I hate to say this alternative plan because I also like the other team, but I feel like they can afford a loss because they're not being used as much right now. But TNT could have went up against Hank and Tank for all I could.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that would have been a funner match because, two face teams, energetic, all 4 men can do something different, and it's just a big hoss match too. But TNT, you could show off their athleticism as well. Like you said, that kip up for a man that size is nuts to watch in full motion, but it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see more of Tyreek and Tyson in NXT now that they're officially part of NXT television, just like I was with Javon Evans. But yeah, it kind of sucked the wind out of the sails a little bit. I was like, oh, OC didn't really need to win. And those, no shade, because I think Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows could beat me up in a fight. But I'm just like, you guys are not the most interesting members of your whole faction. We're going to talk about my favorite member and the most interesting one later. Well, actually, we're going to talk about her now, because as soon as this tag team match was over, you know, we see Ava backstage walking towards the camera in this really fun shot on the phone, be like, hey, I got to go. I got to make this announcement real quick. Cuts a commercial. And Ava is in the ring, and she gives us an update for what was announced at Stand and Deliver with this NXT Women's North American Championship. So, the rumor that has been speculated for quite a while is that this was going to be a tournament. We're going to figure it out like we did for the vacant NXT Women's Championship last year when Indy gave it up before she moved to the main roster. And then we had a tournament with Lyra and Tiffany being in the finals, where Tiffany won that match and became the NXT Women's Champion and held that thing for the summer. That match at Battleground last year between Lyra and Tiffany was actually a banger. It was so good. But Ava announces that just like the men's North American Championship was christened at a takeover in a ladder match, Ava announces that at Battleground, we're going to do the same thing to determine the inaugural Women's North American Champion by having a ladder match. The difference is, though, instead of having qualifying matches, next week we're going to see a women's combine where all the women on the NXT roster are going to be participating in this. And then the women that place in the top 12 positions are then going to have qualifying matches where the winners of those matches will punch their ticket to Battleground, and we will have a 6-women ladder match to determine who will be the Women's North American Champion. So before we talk about of all the people that came out, boys, we've got an update to this. I don't know about you, but I'm super excited because I love me some ladder matches, and the NXT ladder matches are always a bop. So how do we feel that the inaugural champion for the Women's North American Championship will be determined in a ladder match?
I think it'll be awesome. I can't wait to see it, especially with the potential of people that could be in the match. I think it's cool that we're getting it's a little convoluted how we're getting there. We're going to get a combine, and we're going to get this tournament of 12, eventually down to the 6, and that kind of stuff. But the thing that has me excited is not only are we going to get this culmination of a ladder match, but because they're building it up through a tournament style with the combine and all that kind of stuff, we're going to get more women's action every week leading into it, because we got to get through that tournament. So I think it's going to be great because we're going to get to really know those people that are going to be in that ladder match at the end really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anytime we can get more women's matches is a win. So I'm here for it. Bring it on. Let's watch these ladies like vie for this title, because I'm excited.
Bodies flying everywhere. It's going to be crazy. What makes me more excited about this ladder match, too, is like we said, even though we complained earlier in this episode about the draft, now is a good opportunity to start showcasing who your next top talents are going to be holding down NXT, now that the likes of Lyra and Blair and Kiana, who have been busting their humps the last year and a half, are no longer there. So now the spots are there, because we still got Roxanne, but now we're getting all these women have a chance to become your first mid-card champion for NXT, which is kind of crazy that NXT has a mid-card women's title before the main roster does. But then again, the NXT women's roster is deep. It is bigger than the main rosters, which is kind of nuts to think about. And like you both said, we're going to get a chance to know a lot of these women that are going to end up in that ladder match a lot more. We kind of started that during this promo, because as soon as Ava finishes announcing that, we had the plethora of the revolving door of women coming down. First, we have Miss Jada Parker come out. You know, I love Jada. I think her charisma is off the charts. I love her. I just need her to find a better finisher. That hip attack is not it. I love you, Jada, but we talked about this. We got to find a different finisher because she the charisma's there and she can talk. I just need that finisher to be worked on. But Jada comes in and she says, yeah, you're looking at the person who's going to get this title. And I'm like, okay, Jada in this ladder match could be fun. She's athletic. This is great. And then she gets interrupted by Sol Ruka, and immediately in my head, I was like, oh, she's definitely in this ladder match. That Soul Snatcher off the ladder is going to be nuts. Mm-hmm. You know that's what's going to happen. She's going to hit a Soul Snatcher off a ladder on somebody, and it's going to be kind of crazy. Don't pull a Grayson Waller, though, and look like you break your arm as you make your way onto the ladder. Look, 3 years ago at Stand and Deliver, when it was in Texas, or however long that was ago, when Grayson Waller did the elbow drop onto the ladder and it looked like he snapped his arm in half. It was not pretty, but I was excited. I'm like, Sol Ruka better be in this match. But then she gets interrupted by Ariana Grace, who killed it with the comedy. She's like, ladies, this is disgraceful, Ava. We should not have women's bodies flying all over the place. I'm like, ma'am, your father, Santino, has done a plethora of ladder matches. Though Ariana Grace in a ladder match would be kind of funny.
Yeah, it would.
She tries not to fly off ladders, and then, like, I don't know, Gigi cheers her on. It's like, do it, and then she does it.
You know, you mentioned that. I really kind of hope, or what I would love to see is we have this whole Ariana and Gigi thing where she's trying to make Gigi a lady. I would love if the swap happened.
We reverse it.
Like, totally Ariana becomes like a total Gigi. And just like, how brilliant would that be?
Full throttle danger.
Absolutely. Just like
adrenaline
bad
junkie.
Influence. Like, she's a total bad influence on her. Oh my God, I would love it. I'd be here for it.
Oh my goodness. But then, boys, I don't care what nobody says, but my favorite person finally comes out to finish off before we get the big pull apart brawl at the end. But Miss Mia Yim Michin, as she's going in the WWE, comes out. First and foremost, I have a bone to pick with Def Rebel, who does all the theme songs. I was like, these new theme songs are not it. Like, I do not like these theme songs. And I was just like, okay, maybe it's not that bad. And then I listened to her old one. I was like, oh no, I liked it better. I liked the old one better. And I liked her TNA one when she was in TNA last year better too. But anyways, Mia comes out and she talks about, yeah, so I still kind of have unfinished business here in NXT, which is kind of true. It's nuts that they didn't let her win a title of any sort while she's there because she's so damn good. But she wants in this ladder match. And then I love that Ariana Grace is like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is for the NXT Women's North American Championship. And by default, because you're on the main roster, that kind of disqualifies you. And I don't know if it was Mia or Jada Parker on the microphone. It's like, oh, hell. I was like, oh, hell no. And then she just starts beating. She punched Ariana Grace and a whole brawl breaks out.
Oh, yeah, it was Mia Yim hit her right even before she could finish the sentence, and then that's when the fight broke out.
Yep.
You know you about to get a Mia Yim ass whooping when she comes to the ring in her Timbs, man. Those Timolin boots, she will, like, you know when somebody means business if they come to the ring in those Timolin boots, because if anyone's been kicked by those boots, they know they hurt like hell.
They do.
I was like, well, because they're designed to be kind of like worker boots where they are steel toed so you don't break your toes when things get dropped on it. But yeah, as soon as I saw Mia Yim with those boots coming down the ring, I'm like, oh, she's about to whoop some ass, and whoop some ass she did. This was like the highlight for me because this gets me excited for the next couple of weeks because we're going to have this ladder match at Battleground. We're going to get lots of women's action next week and the following weeks with these tournament qualifiers for the ladder match. It's going to be a fun time. So then we get two backstage segments. First, we get Axiom and Nathan Frazier getting ready for the match, and then they get some sagely advice from the Street Profits. Look, did this add anything? No. But I did appreciate that in the context that was the continuity of NXT. At least they got a tag team that had a feud with AOP give advice to the champions. So I was like, okay, at least with that. And Montez Ford killed me with the fourth wall break. It's like, I watched the product. I was like, damn, popping shots. Because the biggest critique is that main roster tends to want to ignore what goes down in NXT when the people get called up and they're like, oh, person we don't know. This is the first time we're meeting. I'm like, have you not seen their stuff in NXT? Like, what's happening?
Yeah,
but it was a thing.
Yeah, this was more, let's bring in some main roster people to just hype up things because it's a special event.
But at least they got a team that had a feud with AOP. So I was like, okay, that makes a little sense because AOP and Street Profits went at it during the Black and Gold era. So then we get the better of the two, NXT Underground preparation segments because Lola and Shayna are there. Can we just keep Shayna? Like, I know Shayna Baszler's on Raw, but can we keep her in NXT for a little bit? Because I need Shayna Baszler to whoop some ass on the NXT women's roster. Like, listen here, give the Queen of Spades, give my lesbians something to do.
Let her fight in an underground match.
That's what I want. Do a tag team event. You know what? When she's cleared, give me Shayna or Lola versus Sonya Deville. That match is going to kick all the ass because Sonya can also go too.
The only thing I can say is that's what an actual striking looks like.
Look, if we can borrow Jordynne Grace for the Royal Rumble from TNA, can we borrow Masha and have her and Shayna go at it at NXT? Give me Bloodsport Part 2. Because Masha shouldn't
hold up.
That's fair. Let them go at it. So, we talked about Shawn Spears and Ridge Holland. We don't need to talk about that. So then, after that match, we see Roxanne Perez yelling at Ava because she's like, why did I not get drafted? I'm like, oh, I don't like this whiny Roxanne. This is not a fun one. No. I was like, somebody lost their mom. Someone come pick up Karen immediately. But Roxanne was mad that she didn't get drafted. And Ava kept trying to explain to her. I was like, Roxanne, I had nothing to do with it. The champions of the shows were locked into their brands. So even if you wanted to leave, you couldn't because that is the deal that all three of us general managers made, that our champions would not be up to be traded. Which was nice because that was a big problem over the last couple of years with the draft, that champions traded shows. I'm like, that's not how that works. But Roxanne had none of it because then she told Ava, just to freak off. And then as Roxanne's walking away, Ava's talking to somebody in the office. It's like, well, when she calms down, we'll talk to her later. I was like, who can be in Ava's office? So you know what? Let's just talk about it now. So we cut to the end of the show after the Underground match, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Roxanne and Ava are watching this match, and Roxanne's like, well, good on Lola, I guess. She's cool and everything, but that doesn't answer my question. Who am I fighting to defend this championship against? And Ava tells Roxanne, it's like, well, since you kept interrupting me before I could say anything to you, first you're going to be defending this title next week. You're going to be defending it against this person, and walking in with this hilarious bow outfit is Miss Chelsea Green herself. Look, Mrs. Matt Cardona, I don't care what nobody says. I am here for it because Chelsea is a phenomenal wrestler and her character work is some of the funniest shit on the planet. So Roxanne and Chelsea Green will be going at it next week for the NXT Championship. I'm like, I'm kind of here for that match, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a fun match. I think
Chelsea win.
Kind of obvious, but yeah.
Yeah, I wish it wasn't. Imagine Roxanne actually. There's a wild Piper Niven running around here somewhere. But I'm excited. I'm excited. I think Roxanne versus Chelsea actually is going to be pretty good. So then we get to the backstage segment after this. Ivar is on the medical bed. I was just like, sir, you earned your stripes tonight because Ova family threw you down with that electric chair. That hurt like a mother. And then Josh Briggs comes in to be a smarmy douchebag. I was like, what? This is my biggest problem. Like, I also don't like this direction we're taking Josh. I'm like, he's a smarmy dirtbag, and I don't like smarmy dirtbag Josh Briggs. Essentially, he tells Ivar, is like, see, it wasn't as easy as you said it was going to be. I told you. And then he's like, thank you for softening Oba Femi up for me. This is going to make it easier to take the title. And like, our boy Wesley rolls up and is like, hey, you two did it. Giving kudos to both Josh and Ivar. Y'all did a good job of trying to take my NXT North American Championship from Oba Femi. And I'm like, that's kind of fair because technically it is a title he didn't necessarily lose given to injury and whatnot. We talked about it leading into No Mercy. That build was a whole mess because it was supposed to be Wes and Dominic Mysterio. And then Wes had the day before it was supposed to not happen. And then we got built up Mustafa Ali and Dominic. And then Ali got released. So then we threw in Dragon Lee at the last. It was a whole mess. Me and Will covered that before the Andrew days of joining us here on the NXT review. It was a whole mess. Though that match kind of banged at No Mercy, though.
It did.
It's kind of fire. But anyways, Wesley says that he's going to get his title back. And so he gives kudos. And then Josh Briggs is like, get to the back of the line. And then he's like, how about you do what you did last time? Pack your bags and leave. I'm like, damn, Josh, why are we so salty? Like, what happened? Who hurt you?
Seriously.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I mean,
and ultimately, this sets up a match between Wes and Josh for next week, which I'm kind of excited for. But Josh, who hurt you? Like, what happened? What happened?
Yeah, Wesley had it right. Like he was just like, whoa, dude, what the hell? Like, I mean, Josh Briggs was like way too aggro. Like, I don't understand where it's coming from.
Masculinity is showing.
Both from like the performer wise, it's like, dude, calm down a little bit. But also like character wise, it's like, where's this happening? Like, yeah, it was super weird, but whatever. I'm sure the match between them will be good. Obviously Wesley's going to be built up to it. It sounds like Ivar might stick around for a little bit too. So, right?
Honestly, I'm kind of here if Ivar sticks around. Well, it makes a lot of sense for Ivar to stick around because even though he got drafted to Raw last week, we found out that Valhalla and the other Viking Raider Eric are expecting their second child. So yay! So she's gonna be out on maternity leave for a little bit. So let Ivar run wild on NXT. It'd be fantastic. But yeah, so Ivar tells Wesley he's not done with Oba. It's like, all right, here we go. So leading into Battleground, we're probably gonna get a mix of these three, which I'm here for. Ultimately, I want Oba to be facing Wes at Battleground if that North American Championship is up for grabs at Battleground. But I'm just happy to see Wesley. And from what I read to the three of us before we went on air, Wesley is 100% cleared, so he's raring to go. I'm just excited because I miss his high-flying flips.
Yes, I'm so excited. I got I squealed like a 12-year-old fangirl when he showed up earlier. I was just like, oh my god. It's like I was like, Mikey, our dreams came true.
And the way he entered, like just how he moved, like clearing that barricade and then jumping the stairs and everything, I was like, oh yeah, he's one of the rascals. I forgot.
Yeah,
he moves like that too. Yeah, totally. Yep. I was like, all right, cool.
The spirit of Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz and Myron Reed is strong in Wesley in NXT. So fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about weird things because then we get Paul Ellering and the Final Testament doing this weird backstage segment. But let me tell you what the weirdest part. It wasn't even Paul Ellering talking and AOP making faces. It's what happened when those three left because then you see Karrion Kross going over and then Scarlett wraps herself around her husband. I was just like, this is kind of kinky, you guys. Like, what is this? It was so seductive for no reason. I don't know what's happening with Karrion Kross and Scarlett. Like, I've said this on multiple occasions across the BC WrestlePod. I really like Karrion and Scarlett as characters. I like them as real life people too, because Karrion Kross is hella philosophical and smart, and Scarlett is very genuine and lovely. But the Final Testament is kind of not working for me, and I want it to work so bad. But they got both that faction and Bobby Lashley's faction with the Street Profits and BFAB. They got no love to that build up to WrestleMania. It was ridiculous. But yeah, this was a weird segment.
The only thing I thought about this segment when they were talking about what they were going to do with these titles and, sending a message and looking for all this kind of stuff, I was like, aren't they drafted to Raw? Like, what? Why are they here? Like, yeah, it was just super weird.
But yeah, I was just like, this was weird. But then the weird times kept going because then we had a pre-taped segment of a car trip with the family. And essentially, the family car trip, which sets up what we talked about like weeks ago, but we didn't need this segment to set it up. I was like, it's kind of evident that since Tony D'Angelo pinned Charlie Dempsey last week in that 6-person tag, that he kind of earned the right to go after the Heritage Cup. But we're going all out for this one. Like, Mr. Crucifino and Adriana are going to be doing some stuff to make sure that Tony's ready. And Stacks needs to go get the Heritage Cup match tape so Tony can watch. I'm like, if Tony D'Angelo does not walk out with that Heritage Cup, I'm actually going to get mad. I'm like, get it away from No Quarter Catch Crew because it is a whole mess with what's going on with them. Like, Drew Gulak is scrubbed out of the picture. Nobody can. They lost their best talker. I hate to say it, but they lost their best talker. That's not saying much.
Dempsey needs to shut the hell up. He needs to stop talking. Because, oh my God.
You should have just let William Regal lead this faction. Like, honestly. They had that interaction. I'm like, William Regal can still talk on the microphone in his Britishness.
Especially when, like, that would have been a great pivot when they're like, oh, we're going to take Drew Gulak out of this. Now let's have William Regal come in and be like, all right, you kids are screwing things up. Like, follow me. And just be that, like, taskmaster. You know, some kind of combat club. But
look, Regal started one over in another company. He can sure as hell do one here. This is the poor man's BCC. I'm just putting it out there.
Oh, dude, not even that. This is worse than ordering BCC off of Wish.com.
It's on Temu. Instead of Wish, it's the Temu version.
Yeah.
But I hope they do something with Tony and with the cup because I feel like Tony had an unfortunate, like, he was like the rebound challenger for the NXT title while Trick was getting a chance to fight for it again. And I think giving him the cup and actually allowing him to, like, run with it for a while would be good for both him and them.
I hope it's a thank you. Be like, hey, so sorry you didn't become champion at Stand and Deliver, but here's the Heritage Cup, so you do have a championship.
Yeah.
Boy. All right, so we move on from that to our actual championship match for the NXT Tag Team Championship match. AOP versus Axiom and Nathan Frazier. Boys, I'm just going to come out. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off on this one. Nathan and Axiom carried the entire match. And what makes this worse is I was like, I don't know if it's because they haven't been in the ring for a little bit, for a while, but I was like, I don't remember AOP looking this bad. Like, there were missed cues. They were kind of slow on certain parts. Again, Nathan and Axiom carried these two through this match, and it shows because there was a lot of start and stop in this thing.
You know how you could have made this night better? You could have had Nathan Frazier and Axiom face Tyreek and Tyson.
I was just going to say.
They're two big dudes, but the match would have been phenomenal. And this is the reason why I'm sorry people are going to tout about, like, you know, main roster and how good they are and everything. They can't keep up with NXT stars when it comes down to doing those things because, I mean, they're young. I mean, they're like decades younger. They're wrestling styles that they're not used to. And you bring them down and it just shines. And we see it almost every single time. It's, you know, only the really, like, phenomenal people come down and are able to keep up with, and that's not an AJ Styles reference, are able to come down and keep up with NXT stars, especially in NXT when you're doing that style. Yeah, this match was bad. It was probably my second least enjoyable match of the night, especially with the way the outcome. But I did not like the way that it ended either.
No, the way it ended. It actually made made Frazier and Axiom look weak.
Yes.
Like they could only win if somebody interfered. I was just like, what the hell?
Against a team who can't win. Like they had to have help against a team that hasn't won anything.
Yeah. It was bad.
I have beef, and I'll talk about it shortly because I feel like that whole spot was not needed.
No, not at all.
So, I mean, you both said it. Axiom and Nathan Frazier pick up the victory. Why? Because we had a run-in interference from New Catch Republic. I love me some Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. I love them. I really, really do. However, I don't like that we're using NXT time and NXT matches to continue to tell the story of what's been going down on Monday Night Raw. I'm like, no, keep them separate. Don't do this to me. Because for those of you that don't watch Monday Night Raw, Hi, I'm one of your hosts of the Raw Squad review, so I'm going to fill you in real quick because the Final Testament attacked New Catch Republic, this past week. And so it makes sense for these boys to want to get their revenge, but not at the expense of our NXT Tag Team Champions, you guys. This was not cool. And I'm not mad at New Catch Republic. I'm really not, because I like Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne a lot. I am upset with the booking decisions. Why did we do this? Ooh, I was so mad. I am happy to see Axiom and Nathan, Team Velocity, is still our champions. However, feel that having a run-in assist from New Catch Republic did not help the cause. You need to make our speedy boys be able to win this thing. They are faster than their opponents. That's how you should have booked this match. It's just like AOP couldn't keep up with their speed.
Yeah. And on top of all that, we also spent another 3.5 minutes in picture-in-picture on a title match.
Oh my gosh. Oof. Ooh, I'm so mad. But we're going to move on, because if not, I'm going to have an aneurysm. We already talked about Rich Holland and Chasey's interaction backstage with whiny Thea. We don't need to go into that. Nope. Then we go to the most dangerous place in NXT, the parking lot. Because first, we have Metaphor come out, which, remember, I was just like, oh yeah, I forgot. Because I was just like, it's almost at the end of the show. I forgot that, Trick was on this episode because it was in the beginning. And the Metaphor's like, he's going to be on the Supernova sessions next week, and we will reveal what's in this envelope. I swear, if it is Trick Williams, you are not the father. I think what I'm thinking is it's probably a contract, because honestly, I think that Noam Dar is going to be either Noam or Oro is going to be the person that Trick faces at Battleground. That's where I think this is leading. Or Noam attempts first, loses, and then Oro gets a shot at Trick Williams' title at Battleground, which kind of starts Oro to build him on the path to be the one to get that North American Championship at some point, because he keeps getting beat up by Obafemi for some reason. But yeah, then as soon as Metaphor leaves, we have Fallon Henley and Kalani Jordan, and Kalani Jordan is actually making the most sense this evening. She's like, Fallon, what the hell was that? This is not you. I need an explanation. And Fallon's like, I just need to go. I'm like, no, you do not get to do that with me. I was like, I need an explanation, and I need it now.
They haven't scripted it
yet. Yeah.
I don't mind Fallon being a heel, but I need an explanation. And if you make me wait for an explanation, I'm going to be upset. Anyways, so then we get to another fun backstage segment, because I don't know what we're building with these, but Idris Enofe and Malik Blade are talking about breaking the mirror last week, which was hilarious. Then Brinley Reese comes in to cheer them up, and what does she do? She cheers them up with black cats.
She's all like, should I take them back?
I will say, as a black cat owner, I am offended. I mean, not really, but yeah. No, I was like, what? I have a black cat. What are you talking about? They're awesome.
I was like, you guys didn't do your homework. They're only unlucky on the Friday the 13th, but not in general. I don't know where they're going with this bad luck shtick, but I'm kind of here for it.
It's good comedy.
Dumb, it's goofy.
Yeah. Comedy.
I mean, I don't think anybody else on the roster could make this interesting, but, we'll see where they go with it, because they're all funny.
Mm-hmm.
They're just so naturally funny. I love this little faction. Please.
No, I do too.
So then we get the bumpers for next week. So as we mentioned before, we have the Supernova sessions with Noam Dar and the rest of the Metaphor, along with Trick Williams as the guest. We're getting Wesley versus Josh Briggs, which is in an official, unofficial number one contenders match kind of at this point, unless Ivar makes himself known. And then if we get a triple threat between those three, I'm actually kind of here for that, to see who faces Oba. Wes, Josh, and Ivar. Seeing who goes to Battleground would be fun. But then we also get told that we are going to be seeing the Combine next week too. I'm like, so are we going to get a whole segment? Is this going to be broken down in parts? Though I am interested to see how they do this. I was like, because this is a big women's roster. So I'm excited to see where that goes. So then we get into our main event of the evening. This is our third ever NXT Underground match. This one has the boat, Natalia, taking on Lola Vice, with Shayna Baszler being in Lola's corner, and then Carmen Petrovich being in Natalia's corner. Let's be all the way 100, boys. And this might be blasphemous to say, but Lola Vice kicked Natalia's ass the entire time. But you could tell she was probably told beforehand, hey, we kind of need you we need you to pull your punches a little bit. Because I'm like, Lola, just kick her head in. We know you can kick her ass, bro. Do it.
There were literally times when she was waiting, like, she would, like, throw a strike and Natalia was down, and then, like, she was, like, waiting for her to get back up. I was like, dude, if this was a real, like, she would be beating the crap out of her right now. Like, what is happening?
Let's be real. Like, this was as one-sided as I thought it was going to be. And again, Lola had to pull her punches a little bit because she couldn't go full throttle. That's what I'm saying. Let Lola and Shayna fight, because then we can get them to go full throttle. Obviously, this match was very underwhelming. Though I am happy because there was a little part of me that was afraid that they were going to let Natalia win. But I'm glad that Lola won. And you know what? Natalia doesn't make the best like fist fighter, but those submissions are a thing of beauty. Though I will give credit to Natalia to that. But yeah, Lola whooped her ass up and down this ring for the, like 11 minutes we got in this match.
Every time Natalia was hitting, especially when she was on the ground with Lola, it was like,
yeah.
And I was just like, what? Stop throwing those if you can't throw them like properly. Like, go to your submission. Like, Natalia looked best when she was doing wrestling moves, professional wrestling moves. Lola looked extremely dangerous when she was doing her MMA style moves, the striking, and even some of the grappling, the way she got some of those reversals. It was really good when they did those things. But it was like when they tried to like cross over so Natalia could do some of those MMA things, they just did not sell. I'll say Lola needs tougher music. Like, I get what it is for her whole thing, but I wanted her to come out to some badass music when she came out for this match, and it was just,
look, like, that's... if we're gonna keep Lola's aesthetic as like that Miami girl who will fight you, like, I need her to, like, obviously they can't license music because, you know, they want to own the copyrights and the ownership to everything. But we need to change Lola Vice's music. Like, I don't know, now I'm gonna be pulling some very, like, I'm even going to pull my rap game music here, so bear with me. I need her to pull up, because she's from Miami, pull up some Eve, pull up some Trina, shoot, like, pull up with Snow the Product here in California, man. Like, we need some Cholita music going on for Lola, like, this badass girl, like, because this is all cutesy and everything. I was like, you can keep the Kardak drums if you will, but we need to give her a harder beat. Like, because it's very, oh, yes. I was like, girl, she'll kick my face in. We needed some tougher music for her.
I will say shout out to the ring announcer, too. Those Liberty spikes that she had going on were...
Oh, yeah.
Insane. I didn't notice them at first until she moved, and you could see them at the back of her hair.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Badass.
I love our ring announcer for NXT. She's great.
Also, did you know that Lola's only been wrestling for 2 years?
Right?
That's insane. That's crazy. She does so well. I really enjoy her. I will say that, you know, it was nice. It was only 2 minutes of picture-in-picture in this match. But again, even our main event couldn't get away from this. And why was Shayna getting punked so much? Why?
Oh, that made me so mad. I'm like, why are we doing Shayna dirty? I'm like, damn, Shawn Michaels, did she do something she wasn't supposed to when she was here in Black and Gold era? Like, what happened?
It's Natalia. You gotta make her look strong.
Whatever. Ultimately, Lola picks up the victory here. This is the third NXT Underground match, and if I'm going to be honest, I'll probably place this at a safe third. I still think my favorite was Dijak and Eddie Thorpe.
Oh, yeah.
Because at least they killed each other.
It was so good.
At least they killed each other, but the unfortunate thing was that's when Eddie got hurt in that match, and that's why he was out for a couple months, which made me super sad. But since he's on, Level Up, or Next Level, I want to keep calling it Level Up, but it's Next Level. I was like, just call it Level Up. It's okay. Like, do the video game stuff. But anyways, Lola celebrates. We already talked about it. To end the night, we get the announcement and the segment that Chelsea versus Roxanne for the titles next week. That's how NXT goes off. This is a whole, like, paper mache of a show because everything was all over the place. There was some stuff I liked, stuff I didn't. I'm going to just jump right in. I give this a 6 out of 10. I thought this was okay. I was underwhelmed by the Underground match. The North American Championship and Thea versus JC was probably my 2 favorite matches. I'm happy that Wesley is back. But that him being back was not enough to save what else we got throughout the night. And it makes me sad because I was like, damn, we wasted his return. Honestly, I would have liked it better if he returned last week. But anyways, next.
I gave it a 6.5. I just didn't. To me, it felt like the company didn't really care about the episode. Like, with all the picture in picture. I mean, it was really just sort of like, oh, it's just okay, whatever. We have to have an episode. Let's just have it and do whatever, Because I mean, even the main event was kind of like didn't really live up to the hype. At least I didn't think it did. And I don't know. It was weird. I just 6.5. I'm gonna say 6.5.
I give this a 5. This should have been night 1, honestly, but we had to make it work for the draft without being too creative, I guess. Every match with significance, whether it was a championship match or long-term storytelling, had picture-in-picture in it. We had 16 promos for 6 matches, and all of the matches, except for one, had picture-in-picture in them. Like, it was so many commercials, so much other stuff. It was so disjointed. It was like eating a multi-course meal with a really good appetizer and a decent dessert. But everything in the middle was either bland, too sugary, or just not appealing.
Yeah.
There's nothing else we can say. But now that we are done with the 2 weeks of Spring Breaking, and now we have left a hole where some of our NXT kids got moved over to main roster. Now we're truly, in my opinion, entering the next chapter era for NXT, in my opinion. Because the kids that carried NXT for the last 2 years, I'm not saying that, one person did more than other, but I'm going to be all the way 100. The last 2 years, Braun and Carmelo carried the men's division. And honestly, even though Blair was just a more recent addition coming over for NXT UK, but her and Lyra definitely carried a lot of the women's division too. And Kiana to a certain extent too, because she's had one hell of a run the last year and a half or so as well.
It was like the senior class graduated.
So now it's time for everybody else to step up. Trick and Roxanne are going to be the faces of their respective divisions for this next chapter. And then we're going to see who fills out the rest. We'll figure out who's going to be our North American. Nathan and Axiom for the tag teams. We'll see who is our first women's North American. And we'll see who ends up with the Heritage Cup in the next couple weeks. Because now we're entering the next class of kids. So I'm excited. And I'm hoping that the build to Battleground is going to be fantastic. I'm already excited with our women's qualifiers. But we'll see how the stories for Battleground pan out. Because I'm looking at my calendar, boys. We have 5 weeks until Battleground. So it's... Woo! At least we got some breathing room, but holy crap. Alrighty, we're going to get up on out of here because, spoiler alert, we also have another video we have to record for a different company shortly here. So the 3 of us are going to get up on out of here, but thank you for hanging with us. This was a very long-winded review. It seems like we were super down on this, and it kind of was not a fun show, but there were some gleaming spots throughout. But we will be back next week to review the road to Battleground. So I'm super excited to do this with my hosts here. But from myself, Andrew, Will, and the rest of the BC WrestlePod boys, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay Biconic. More importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We'll catch you on the flip side. Until then, ta-ta for now.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's gonna happen next time? Well, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.